the Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox.
What would it look like if you could raise more money with fewer roadblocks in your way? If you had tools that helped you engage donors, increase giving, and streamline your fundraising without constantly scrambling for the next campaign? Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Jenna, Education and Community Engagement Manager here at Donorbox. We are here each week with practical actions you can use today to increase donations and take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. And joining me is my co-host, Britton Stalker, fundraising strategist here at Donorbox. And today we are talking about tools that help nonprofits make fundraising simpler, more predictable, and ultimately more effective, because that's what we all need. In case you missed it, our nonprofit community here at Donorbox has hit a major milestone. We are celebrating today over $3 billion raised through our platform. That is a huge win, and it really got us thinking, what are the tools and strategies that have helped our organizations reach big numbers like that? So welcome, Britt. I'm happy to have this conversation with you today.
Hey, Jenna, great to be here. Exactly all of what you're saying. And it's not just about hitting those big fundraising targets. It's about having the right systems in place to make your growth sustainable. And today we're going to be talking about some of those tools that are going to help you stay ahead of the curve, raise more money, and just overall feel less overwhelmed by all of these crazy changes happening in fundraising, right, Jenna? And we know, let's talk about it. Fundraising, it's evolving fast. There is a lot of chatter I'm seeing on LinkedIn and so forth about donor expectations are shifting, new technology, how the heck do we keep up, economic challenges, and gosh, even the possibility, Jenna, we talked about this last week, of a federal funding freeze. It is a lot to process, but we're so excited to share some tangible things that are going to help you make it all feel a little bit more manageable. So, Jenna, I want to start the conversation here, okay? With all of the hats fundraisers wear these days, what are some of the key features that, we're so tapped into all the things at Donorbox that have helped nonprofits raise more money while easing the workload?
Yes. Great question, Britt. I was nodding my head along, thinking about all the things that are going on in the nonprofit sector right now. And I'd say at Donorbox, we are all about self-empowerment for nonprofits, especially now. We always have been, but especially now. And we are really focused on giving organizations the tools they need to raise more money without creating more work for them, right? No more juggling those endless tasks or feeling stretched thin. And though we've got an amazing suite of tools overall, I think that there are standout features that really made hitting that $3 billion milestone possible for our nonprofit community.
Please do tell.
So no surprise here at all, but multi-step donation forms are still number one in my book, and they're still number one for our nonprofit users too. Donor abandonment is a real challenge for many nonprofits, and it often comes down to the user experience. A donation form that feels clunky or takes too long to complete can really discourage even the most dedicated donor, and there's no excuse for it nowadays. This should not be the case, right? So multi-step forms break down the donation process into smaller, more manageable steps, making the entire experience feel smoother and more personalized. So this in turn helps reduce those abandonment rates and increase your conversion rates, meaning just helps your donors complete the donation form and complete their donation, right? And the beauty of this multi-step form approach is that they don't just simplify the experience for your donors, but they also create a sense of trust and connection, especially if you're able to align the form with your nonprofit's brand. I know that many of you have worked long and hard on gorgeous and probably expensive nonprofit websites, right? So you want to be able to include elements from your nonprofit's website, like your logo, your colors, and your imagery, and make the donation process feel more in line with your mission and your values and your brand. And you can do that on Donorbox's donation forms. And this has been shown to not only improve that trust, but encourage larger donations, right? Isn't that kind of cool? And one of them, I'm dorking out over here, but one of the main reasons donors drop off is because of friction in the payment process, right? And that's where something called Ultra Swift Pay comes in. So it allows donors to complete their donation in just a few seconds, which is huge when it comes to maintaining that momentum, maintaining that generosity, right? Fewer clicks and faster payments means that there's a higher likelihood that donors will follow through with their gift. I don't know about you, but if I have to get up and grab my wallet to complete any purchase, even if I've been thinking about it for a long time and I'm excited about it, I have to go grab my credit card and type that in, it will stop me from making a purchase. So Donorbox Ultra Swift Pay removes that barrier and makes it so easy to give. It is so important to meet your donors where they are, right? And that's also why offering a variety of payment methods and currencies can make a really big difference. Donors want to give in a way that works for them, and they may prefer to give using a different method or currency. So giving those options just removes the barrier to giving and opens up opportunities for broader support. So this is a huge revenue driver for organizations.
Absolutely. And I let me just add this. The donation process, think of it as your first touch point that donors have with your organization, with your mission. And if your donation form is frustrating, what is that going to do? It's going to undo all of the relationship building work that you've already put in. And I know this when I'm working with a lot of my coaching clients, the very first thing I do before we can even talk about big picture strategy is we do a full audit of their donation forms. And we essentially just make it easier, smoother, and streamlined for their supporters.
That's the perfect way to kick off any coaching client or session, I think. And it's one of those things that seems so simple, but can make a world of difference in the donor experience for sure.
Yeah, so Jenna, let's talk about one of my favorite features, which is the recurring donation upsell. Okay. When we talk about the $3 billion raised, it is clear. It's not just the fact that our nonprofit customers really attracted big one time gifts. The real thing they did here was that long term impact that comes from building steady, reliable, predictable support. And yet, we also know fundraisers, let me know if you're raising your hand, creating a reliable, consistent flow of recurring donations is a huge challenge for some of us. It takes time. And this is why I love this feature, Jenna. What it's doing for a lot of fundraisers out there is it's removing the guesswork and it's helping you find new donors to simply upgrade and convert to recurring donors.
Yes. And many of our listeners, and I know we spew out the stat a lot, you've probably heard that recurring donors give on average 42% more per year than one time donors. But I know a lot of nonprofits hesitate to ask for that commitment, especially early on with a donor, right? It feels like a big ask, but once you do ask, it creates stability in your fundraising efforts and it can make all the difference, right? And especially times like now, we really need that dependable, sustainable revenue. And one way Donorbox makes this process easier is with the recurring donation upsell feature, like you said, Britt. Before a donor makes a one-time donation on your donation form, they are prompted to upgrade to a recurring monthly donation, which is at 50% of their original gift. Now, I know this may sound like a small ask, but over time, it really adds up. Like I said, recurring donors end up contributing 42% more annually than the one-time donors. So, for example, if a donor gives $50, they might be prompted to convert that into a 25 monthly gift instead, right? So over a course of a year, that's $300. That is 6 times their initial planned on donation. So the beauty of this is that it's a seamless process for the donor and it helps fundraisers build a reliable base of support that grows steadily over time. It's not just about asking for more, right? It's about offering a simple, natural way for donors to continue to support your cause. It's a very non-intrusive prompt, and it makes this upgrade feel easy and helpful, not pushy, right? And the results are so clear. Nonprofits using this kind of strategy have seen as much as a 64% increase in monthly donations just by asking donors to switch from one time gifts to recurring support at intervals, right? And this kind of growth really helps provide a more predictable flow of income, and it just makes your fundraising more sustainable.
Right. And I will add, most of what we know about recurring donors is they tend to also be lifetime revenue donors that are going to stick with your organization for the long haul. And I think the beauty of this feature is that it happens automatically, where it just works in the background to, again, create those loyal, ongoing donors. Okay, so moving on to feature number 3, JAI. Jenna, spill the tea of what you know about J.
Yes, I am very biased to J names. And I know that the term AI might sound like a buzzword, and it's a little hard to wrap your head around, especially when it comes to fundraising. I felt this way for a little bit. I don't feel this way anymore, and we're still working to demystify it, right? But here's the thing. AI is not about replacing you as a fundraiser. It's about giving you a tool that works alongside you to help you do your job better. And at the end of the day, fundraising is still about relationships. Donors give to people, not to technology. We know this. But imagine this. You're sitting down to plan your summer campaign and you're starting a spreadsheet of donor data. You know, there are major donors in there, but how do you know how to prioritize who to reach out to, right? This takes a lot of manual work to look at who you need to reach out to. And this is where tools like JAI can come in and help. So rather than manually sorting through all of your data, JAI can highlight patterns and suggest which donors are most likely to respond to specific campaigns based on past behavior. So, for context, Jay lives in the Donorbox CRM, right? So, for example, you may have a group of donors who give annually in December, but their gift size is trending downward. Jay can flag this group and suggest ways to re-engage them with a tailored message, or it might just recommend a donor appreciation campaign to keep them loyal. So you can really get to know Jay and use prompts so that JAI can help you work with your data better and smarter.
I think something else with JAI is that it's going to save a ton of time. Our CRM users, they can ask Jay anytime to summarize and rank all of your unread emails in the last 7 days. And if you're a busy fundraiser, that is a huge time saver. No more digging through an inbox, trying to figure out who the heck do I need to reach out to, who's urgent. JAI, it's going to sort all of that out for you, giving you more time to focus on what matters most, right? Which is building relationships with your donors when they're wanting to be engaged.
Yes, I love this feature. I am a zero in my inbox by the end of the week type of person. And like you said, it's just about saving time so that you can spend your time where it's most valuable, right? And that helps boost your revenue too.
Totally. Where to next? Let's see. Feature number 4, event ticketing. I think, Jenna, this is going to be a major, or let's step back. It's not going to be, it is a major revenue driver for so many nonprofits out there. Events and ticket sales. And we know fundraisers, events are still such a critical piece. There's such a major way that we drive revenue for our missions, where we know from the research, 82% of nonprofits, they're still hosting events as one of their primary ways to secure contributions and simply raise awareness. When donors attend events, we know that they engage in a more meaningful way with your organization. So think of these events again. Let's move beyond just writing a check. It's about being part of a very meaningful cause, which, Jenna, I think this is why 56% of donors, they're still loving attending these fundraising events.
Absolutely. It's not just the events themselves, it's the relationship building that happens during them. And Donors are often more generous at events because they're already invested in the cause. They're already engaged, right? There's nothing like engaging people in person. I think it's an incredible opportunity. And there are some reports that show that the average mobile donation at events is around $167, which I think is a pretty impressive number. I would be thrilled if I got an average donation of $167, right? People are ready to give, and events provide the perfect opportunity to tap into that generosity. But for fundraisers, it can feel like there's a lot to juggle. Britt, you and I have both been there. The ticket sales, the donations, the managing the check in, the logistics, it can all really quickly pile up. And that's where a really solid event ticketing system like Donorbox Events has really made a big difference for our organizations. You can easily set up event pages, sell tickets in over 40 currencies, and customize the ticketing process with multiple tiers, donation options, and tax deductible receipts. So, everything your team needs to make the event run smoothly. Plus, like I said, donors can add a donation at the time of purchase, which really boosts the revenue right then and there.
And I think the numbers speak for themselves. And after talking about event ticketing, we absolutely can't forget about in person donations. I don't know about you all, but I hardly ever carry cash anymore. And I know we're definitely seeing more of this with donors too. So if people don't have an easy way to give, it's going to be problematic. We know this is a challenge.
I always hate to say no when I can't give a donation to a cause I love because I don't carry cash. And I like to share this example with nonprofits that I chat with. So imagine this: you are at your nonprofit's annual event or even in your lobby, and visitors are stopping by and they want to donate, right? And they may have every intention in the world to give, but if they don't have that cash on hand, they might leave without contributing at all. And even if someone does donate, say they do have cash, it's easy to miss out on collecting their contact information for the future, right? Maybe you just have a cash box. Maybe you're just using a giving plate. So that means, say they drop in 20 bucks, how do you know who to steward later, right? How are you thanking them for their gift? How are you contacting that person? It's a challenge that many nonprofits face, from small grassroots organizations to larger ones with ongoing programs. And that's where technology can really step in and bridge the gap, right? I'm not saying you need to replace the cash box, the giving plate, whatever that may be. But when you can bridge the gap with technology and complement it, whether that's through a card, a mobile phone, a smartwatch, you're not only capturing more donations, but you're also gaining that valuable donor information. And this way, you're not just getting that one time donation, but you're setting yourself up to nurture that relationship and inspire repeat gifts. And that's exactly why Donorbox Live Kiosk has been such a game changer for in person donations for our organizations. It is such a super simple, easy to use solution that allows donors to give right from a tablet with a card reader, and they can tap their card, their smartphone, their smartwatch. There's really no excuse not to give when you have a live kiosk, right? Plus, it automatically collects that donor info, which is so key for reaching out and following up and building those long term relationships.
Completely. All of these things that Jenna just talked about are a perfect example of how technology can ramp up your fundraising efforts in just a more secure, ethical way. And I think the best part of that is that these tools are readily available to all of you nonprofits, whether you're big or small, to just help you build those stronger relationships with your donors, no matter the method of giving.
There's a theme here, right? Tools to help building relationships with your donors. That is the goal. So let's wrap up with a practical action as we always promise. I want you to think about where you might be losing potential donations, whether that's during your event ticket sales, if you have an event coming up, maybe that's on your donation forms. Are you asking for recurring donations? Are there gentle nudges to nudge people to a recurring donation? Or maybe it's at your physical donation points. So start by picking one area where you can simplify the donor experience, amplify the donor experience, make it enjoyable and easy to give, and just look for ways to make the process smoother. Look for ways to guide your donors to give more and give more often. And these small changes can really make a big difference.
It really does start with making giving easy and as engaging as possible, no matter how that donation happens. And I think this $3 billion raised by our nonprofit community here at Donorbox, it's so much proof that the right systems can create such a big impact. Okay, by the way, listeners, if you want to learn more about these very specific cool features as it relates to your nonprofit's fundraising, be sure to check out the link. We're going to drop it in the show notes or schedule a complimentary 30-minute call or demo with one of our fundraising advisors.
Yes. Thank you, Britt. And thank you for being here with me today.
As always, lovely joining you, Jenna.
And thank you for joining us on the Nonprofit Podcast. I hope you've left with the confidence to take a small step today that will make a big difference tomorrow. Be sure to click the download button on your podcast player, then leave the Nonprofit Podcast a review or give it a thumbs up if you're listening to the Nonprofit Podcast on YouTube. Your review is a great way to help others find us. You're here to help others. We're here to help you. Until next time, stay inspired.
That warm feeling when you help someone, it's not just happiness, it's fulfillment. And we believe it should be available to everyone, from frontline heroes to first-time fundraisers. Our tools empower you to help others. This is our mission. This is Donorbox, helping you help others.